Formula One is a sport obsessed with speed, in the sense that teams will pour millions of dollars into their cars just to shave off a few milliseconds per lap. But what if I told you that the slowest car on track is actually the most decisive one in determining the finishing order of the race? Well, you see, that's exactly what the safety car does in F1, because in most instances, it'll single-handedly convert the current order of the race into a little bit of this, little bit of that, race order via roulette spin. Some drivers will get lucky, and some will get Abu-Dhabi 2021. Anyhow, I'm gonna make the bold assumption that most of you watching already know the ins and outs of what the safety car does. But in case you don't, here's my one-sentence summary. If there's a hazard on the track, such as a crash, puddle, debris, whatever, the safety car will be deployed to neutralize the race, which essentially means no overtaking. Simple enough. But what's a bit less obvious is where the idea even came from. What about its history? Like, how on earth did F1 operate for more than 40 years without it? Why was it a Lamborghini that one time and a Renault Clio a year later? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to take you through today. Not just the incredible lore behind the safety car, but also a definitive tier list of every single safety car there's ever been, which is a first for this channel, so let me know if you enjoy the format. Moving along though, in all honesty, the current state of Formula One YouTube has seen better days. I mean, Christian Horner this, Verstappen to Mercedes that, blah blah blah. Therefore, rather than milking a half-assed rant about a certain French Canadian, I figured I'd give you guys something fresh. With that out of the way, let's get right into the history of the safety car in Formula One. Rightio, so the story of F1's safety car began around the same time dinosaurs roamed the earth, way back in the 1970s. You know, the whole smoking is good for you, especially when you're pregnant era. The very first appearance of the safety car was at the 1973 Canadian Grand Prix. However, it was nothing like the well-structured deployment we'd see in the 2025 season. It was a shit show. Basically, the track became a fish tank, and after a large crash on the 32nd lap, race control elected to deploy a yellow Porsche 914 to neutralize the race. Now, at first glance, you'd assume this was a great idea opposed to red flagging the race. And sure, the good intentions were there, but the execution of this idea was completely butchered, as the safety car misidentified the race leader and was placed in front of the wrong car. This ruined the race, as half of the cars unfairly gained a lap on the rest of the field, which resulted in a massive subreddit argument after the race to work out who actually won.
I give up. I give up.
Point being, the race went down in history as one of the most memorable, not just because of the safety car controversy, but it was also the last F1 race to ever be won by someone born in the land of the free. Anyway, after race control shit the bed at the 1973 Canadian Grand Prix due to the lack of established protocol, the concept of a mandated safety car was abolished for the next 2 decades. In saying that though, there were some exceptions. Over the next 20 years, the safety car would make only 4 appearances, all of which occurred in Monaco. But it was more of a marketing spectacle, in the sense that the Porsche and Lamborghinis weren't really used for driver safety, but rather to drive up car sales. But those were the only exceptions, which meant that F1 reverted to relying on track marshals waving red or yellow flags to control the race in the event of an incident. Simply put, in the event of a pileup, race control preferred to red flag the race rather than neutralize it. Nevertheless, this would all soon change. The year is now 1993. The EU formed, Pablo Escobar got full boxed, and times were changing. This was a massive year for F1, as the FIA finally laid the foundation of the modern safety car, meaning that it was now a fixture at every race weekend. However, the protocol was far from standardized, as each circuit was responsible for supplying their own safety car, which proved to be problematic, given that the deployment and speed of each circuit safety car could differ vastly. So without spoiling the tier list later in the video, here's an example for you. In the event of a crash in the 1990s, which situation would you rather find yourself in? Would it be in the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix, in which the Finance Bro Classic of a Porsche 911 GT2 was used? Or would you prefer the family man built to be parked Fiat Tempra that was used at the 1993 Brazilian Grand Prix? I'll give you a clue. If you're one of those people that think that the safety car is too slow today, you just love the personality of the 145 horsepower that the Fiat boasted. All I'm saying is that if you manage to keep an ounce of temperature in your tires behind that thing, I'm certain you'd be on Franz Hermann's virtual sim racing team. You get the idea though. This inconsistency of safety car models wasn't exactly met with open arms.
What the fuck?
Which paved the way for the safety car to transform from a budget sedan with hazard lights to an actual respected component of an F1 race weekend. Anyhow, this brings me to the final chapter of the safety car's history, as in 1996 the standardization problem completely vanished. This was because F1 partnered with Mercedes-Benz, making them the sole provider of the safety cars for all races. The German manufacturer nearly hit a 30-year streak as well, but ever since 2021, Mercedes has shared this role with Aston Martin. Building on this standardization, I bet you didn't know that the driver of the safety car technically has the longest F1 career in history. In fact, Bernd Mayländer has been behind the wheel since 2000. That's longer than many current drivers have been alive. The only other major development in recent years is that of the virtual safety car that dropped about a decade ago. And again, I'm assuming if you've made it this far into the video, you probably already know what a VSC is. But just in case, it's literally a safety car without the actual car. In other words, it's the digitized version of slow your ass down and don't even consider overtaking the other cars. On a more serious note though, the VSC's origins aren't exactly sunshine and rainbows. It was introduced in 2015 as a direct response to the fatal crash of Jules Bianchi the previous year at Suzuka. This incident made it clear to the FIA that there needed to be another level of safety between double yellow flags and a full safety car, which is where the concept was born. But that's more or less the complete history of the safety car in Formula 1, I guess. Rightio, now that we've covered the history, it's time to start a war in the comments. I'm ranking every single safety car used in an F1 race in chronological order. Full disclaimer, this is a first for the channel, so drop some constructive or destructive criticism down below. The first safety car we've got is the OG Porsche 914. Right off the bat, I must say the minion yellow paint job isn't really doing it for me, but hey, each to their own. What does set it apart though is the fact that it didn't even have hazard lights, just yellow flags flapping off the back. And I reckon that gives it a fair amount of style points compared to some of the more forgettable ones, so it's a clear A tier. Up next was the classic Porsche 911 used at the Monaco Grand Prix in 1976. Now look, I'm trying really hard not to be biased here, but come on, if there's a Lego set of it, you know it's iconic. That said, the car wasn't even deployed during the race and was literally just there for show, so I can't really justify putting it above B tier. Right, so forget what I just said about show cars, because the Lamborghini Countach has to be an S tier. Whilst it was so unnecessary, I want you to tell me what could possibly top slapping hazard lights onto the roof of Jordan Belfort's car and parading it around Monaco. Like, I cannot think of another car that encapsulates the 1980s and F1 better than this, aside from an F40. Anyhow, now we've got the Fiat Tempera, and I must say, I want to know what the race organizers were smoking when they selected this. There isn't a single thing about this Fiat that screams F1 pace car. I mean, if I ordered Uber Eats right now, there is a 70% chance this is the car pulling up. So it's getting C tier. Likewise to that stinker, the Ford Escort RS Cosworth seen at the 1993 British Grand Prix is another clear C tier. Otherwise known as the Suburban Prowler, nothing would surprise me if you found this exact model at a Tesco's car park taking up 2 spaces. Up next is the Opel Vectra, which honestly feels like the safety car equivalent of plain toast. Just like the previous 2 safety cars, this Opel screams, I rev loudly at traffic lights, in the sense that nothing about this car resembles what an F1 safety car should be, but rather what your dad's company car probably looked like. C tier. Right, the final mid safety car would be that of the Honda Prelude seen at the Japanese Grand Prix in 1994. This thing had the same energy of a kid who brings his calculator to PE, as there was just nothing practical about this choice. And look, I know this segment is largely based on my opinion, but I'm not trying to be a D1 hater. It just doesn't make sense to pick a safety car with 190 horsepower from a Taco Bell drive-thru when its job is to lead race cars with about 4 times that amount of power at 800 horsepower. C tier. On a more positive note, the next safety car we've got is the Porsche 911 GT2, aka the king of the Autobahn that was used at the Belgium Grand Prix in 1995. Now this is what should have been the benchmark during the DIY safety car era, as nothing complements F1 better than a tax evasion scheme on wheels that is the average GT2 owner. A tier. Another absolute banger was that of the Lamborghini Diablo used at the 1995 Canadian Grand Prix. Just like the GT2, this is the safety car equivalent of that guy who pulls up to the function wearing sunglasses at night. So unnecessary, but somehow it works. I'ma leave it there though, it's an easy A tier as well. Alrighty, and that brings us to the most generational safety car on this list, and it would have to be the Renault Clio, arguably the GOAT of family minivans. This beast was equipped with French leather seating, generous legroom, and even a heated steering wheel. D tier. Anyhow, from this point on, the tier list is dominated by Mercedes-Benz models. So I'm going to pick up the pace and make some generalizations now, rather than rank each of the 13 different makes that have been used as the safety car. Because let's face it, that'd be boring, and I'm not about to recreate another Mercedes dominance era willingly. To start things off, we've got the C36 AMG that was used for about a year. It's easily the weakest link of the Mercedes lineup, given that it looks like it's one yellow paint job away from being a taxi in Eastern Europe. But hey, it's not a Fiat Tempra, that's for sure. So B tier. Next up, I'm grouping the SLCL and CLK 55 AMGs that were used from 1997 through to 2005. Now, whilst the 55 makes weren't exactly bad, they were still pretty basic, sort of the creme de la creme of an entrance level Mercedes in my opinion. B tier. On that note, the CLK and SL63 AMGs used from 2006 through to 2009 will also go right into B tier. Sure, they've got a little bit more going for them, but I can't justify putting the private school mum starter pack car in A tier. That'd be criminal. The final Mercedes safety car that I'll rank is that of the SLS and GT models, and these are a clear A tier. This is because these have been used since 2010, meaning that I know I'm not alone when I say that if I think of the words safety car, this is the car that had come to mind. The only other car left to rank would be that of the Aston Martin Vantage, and rather than initiating a build fight between Toto Wolff and Mike Crack, I'll place it right into A tier alongside the current AMG safety car. Wait, I lied, there's one honourable mention that I could not ignore. At the Canadian Grand Prix in 2007, due to a series of incidents, a Honda Civic was used as a safety car. Now, even though it only led the pack for a single lap until being replaced by a Mercedes, it technically fulfilled the duties of the safety car, meaning that it'd be unfair not to rank it. With that in mind, let me know in the comments where you'd rank it, as I'm too scared to put it in S tier in fear of the Renault Clio Warriors doxing me. But that's that. All jokes aside, the safety car in F1 hasn't just made the sport a lot safer, but I think you'd agree with me that it's also responsible for some of the most memorable moments in the sport. I'm also not going to drag out some insightful waffle in today's outro. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, liking the video and subscribing to F1 Yapathon helps you make more content like this for you guys. So feel free to join the Discord, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.
Have you ever seen the difference between a GT car and an F1 car going around the same circuit? Like, watch the left, that's GT car, watch the right, that's a Formula car. Look at the difference. See that? Watch this.
Yeah.